Hi, and welcome to the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce Member Connection. I am your host, Eric Knowles. And before we get started, a word from one of our supporters.
Miami-Dade College has career paths in anything you want to be. What's your story? Be global. Be cutting edge. Be inventive. Be investigative. Be a hero. What do you want to be? Be the best. Be you. Be MDC.
Hi, and welcome back to the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce Member Connection. I am your host, Eric Knowles. You already know the deal. Here, building Black business. Here, building minority-owned businesses. Here, building women-owned businesses. And I'm excited. We have a gentleman here that helps you build who you are. And that is none other than Dr. Isaac Carter. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm excited to be here. So thank you for having me. I got a chance to watch a few of your episodes and preparations. So I'm really looking forward.
So you know what we're doing.
I'm looking forward to this conversation, definitely.
So tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into the nitty-gritty of who Dr. Isaac Carter is.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay.
Proud son of the Midwest.
Okay.
And moved around a little bit and relocated to Miami.
Okay.
And about 5 years ago, my mom, dad, and sisters also relocated to make Florida their home. So all my family is here. And
got out of that Midwest cold.
Yeah, St. Louis, and I lived in Chicago for a long time.
Okay.
You don't shovel snow for so long, but when you realize you can go somewhere else and you just shovel sand.
Might have to deal with a hurricane, you know. Well, have you had to deal with a hurricane since?
Oh yeah, Rita, Wilma's when I first came.
Oh, okay. So,
first moved here.
All right. So you've been acclimated.
I've been acclimated, and I wish those who have experienced the damage I wish them
it's
really best in love. But bless my family, we have been able to maneuver or just be in place where it doesn't.
Where you haven't had to.
We haven't had the difficulties.
Direct impact. You know, we do live in. I guess here lately with the storms, and that's not what we're here to talk about, but we've been blessed here in South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And so you moved to South Florida. You got a PhD in
comparative cultural studies from Florida Atlantic University.
Okay. Yeah. And your whole focus, you got several focuses.
I guess.
So, you don't just talk about the different focuses that you do have.
To back up a little bit, my bachelor's degree in psychology, master's in counseling.
Okay.
And that's when I first started getting into the training world after I completed that work. Then when I added the PhD to my work, then I began to think through, like, how can I help individuals and ultimately teams and organizations be better? And I feel a lot of that work has to happen within. Okay. So I built Coaching Imperative with the idea of how do I help people deal with emotions, understand emotions better, also understand how culture influences how we think, how we feel, how we react, and put it together to leverage it so we can help leaders be better leaders, help teams be better teams, help organizations create a sense of well-being and belonging so that they can be the most successful at every stage of their organization and every stage of the organizational staff members. Because if we have a healthy, engaged, committed group, there's no end that you can't get to. There's no goal you can't achieve as an organization. So I try to help bring out that in people and their performance and try to get them opportunity to be the best version of themselves.
What would you say is, when it comes to that, I mean, I think for the most part, we wake up and we want to be the best version of ourselves. But what are those things that impede and keep us from realizing, Maslow's
hierarchy? Yeah. Well, I think there's some pressures on us in society. We see certain type of leaders and we think that's the only mode of leadership. And a lot of times we see leadership that might be authoritarian or very individualistically focused. And that, if you're not made that way, if you don't really believe in that value, then it's really hard for you to be a leader in that mode or in that make. And then so between not seeing a diversity of types of leaders, also have the self-doubt in your head, the people come up and try to challenge you on your views, trying to challenge you on your skill sets, trying to challenge you in the direction. Sometimes that creates negative self-talk.
Okay.
And then we have our own expectation that sometimes we're not willing to be as vulnerable as we need to be and as honest with ourselves as we need to be to really help us be better. When we look in the mirror, you might say, oh, I'm looking good today. And you put on 10 pounds for the, but you don't say that to yourself.
Right.
But so in my work, I try to put the honest mirror into people's viewpoints so they can see themselves as who they are, but also create windows so they can see the possibility of what they can become.
And again, as you say, you're looking in that mirror, the 10 pounds came on, but you're kind of ignoring it.
Yes.
And then I go back to something else you just said, in terms of leadership, you have those authoritarian type of leaders. And then you may have those who report to you challenging your type of leadership. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. I think leaders are in a difficult position. And if we look at what we have going on in our world today, you looked at the rates of disengagement of workers, looked at the Great Resignation, you look at this culture that we are in a down spiral in terms of emotional health and well-being. If you look at the Surgeon General's reports, we're in this epidemic of loneliness. And then we have incivility and hate that continues to grow in different cycles over the last decade or so. So you as a leader trying to manage people's personalities, people's hopes, people's dreams, it's a difficult task.
Yeah, and sometimes I say, and I'm sure a lot of leadership probably say one of the hardest thing of running an organization is managing the people. Doing the task that's easy. That's easy task.
Yeah.
But to your point, the mindsets of those who work for you. Talk about that. How does a leader, I guess I would say, motivate? And can you motivate someone, or is that something that's innate in that person?
Well, I'll say this. I think definitely you can learn how to. If it's not innate to you, you can learn how to. And it starts with relationships. So a lot of times in organizations, people are arguing and challenging each other over the power within the organization. Who has the power to do this and who has the power to do that? What I try to do is help people discover the power of working together. If you build sound relationships with your staff and you care about them and their work, but also care about them and their families and their children and their parents that are living with them. And if you're really in tune to their whole life, people will naturally become more empathetic and naturally want to follow somebody who's taking care of them.
Right.
It's when you're not being taken care of, when you feel like you might be taken advantage of, or you're ignored, or you're not given the opportunity you feel you should have based on your skills and your merits, then it creates a little dissension within the individual mindset. And once you have a person not committed and dialed into the organization, and in some way they use the word quiet quitting and they're looking for another job, it's going to affect whatever you're doing in that organization, but it's also going to affect the team culture.
Right.
And that's the most dangerous thing when you have your team culture become something that is disengaged and it doesn't allow you to reach your goals, doesn't allow you to satisfy and meet the needs of your customers or your clients. And in that way, we're all going to fail. So it's really key. And it starts with something simple and basic. I tell sometimes leaders, the first thing you need to do is say please in the morning and say thank you in the evening. If you start out with that, you got a good opportunity to really connect with people and show them that you care about who they are as individuals, not just their work.
Right. Well, I tell you, this conversation is I'm sure very interesting to a lot of folks who manage staff and individuals, but we're going to take a little break and we'll be right back to continue the conversation.
Learn and earn today at Miami-Dade College. College graduates earn 56% more than high school graduates and $1 million more in lifetime earnings. A degree from MDC is your path to greater earning power and career success. Choose from hundreds of affordable high-tech and in-demand career programs, including cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, business, and nursing. Learn and earn today at MDC and fast track your career. Enroll now at mdc.edu/purpose.
Hi, welcome back to the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce Member Connection. I am your host, Eric Knowles. And we have a very intelligent young man here talking about basically leadership and how you engage not only with your staff, but how you engage as a leader. I would even say in the community.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think that what I try to do in using emotional intelligence, cultural intelligence, is to give people an opportunity to become the best version of themselves, but to do it in a way that allows them to build connections with people and authentic relationships that can actually help you grow. So one of the things sometimes leaders or teams may struggle with is bringing in outside resources. Sometimes they may struggle with people who come in with different talents than they may have or possess, and they feel like threatened by those.
Okay.
I try to help people understand that's the best way to put a team together. Put talented people around you and to be successful. I was lucky enough to play sports and through college, and I was never the best player, but I got opportunity to be a captain on every team I've been on. And I think part of that being a captain, being true to who you are, what you can do, and be able to motivate and celebrate the talents of others.
Right. You know, that's an interesting point that you bring up. You know, I had the pleasure of working for the Miami Dolphins for 15 years and working for Wayne Huizenga.
Okay.
And Wayne was, as they say, the only entrepreneur that have taken at least 3 companies, Fortune 500, Waste Management, Blockbuster, and AutoNation. And obviously, he owned the Dolphins. He brought the Marlins to Miami, to South Florida, and the Panthers.
Yeah.
And it wasn't something that he did by himself. He identified those individuals with the talent that made the team. And so it's important. I think a lot of our, to your point, employees, they may get threatened by the fact that you're bringing in other people or you're moving things around because you may see a particular individual has more skill, a better skill set over here versus over here. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think one of your jobs as the leader or the captain of your team, like I like to talk about it as, is
I call it the head bottle washer.
The head bottle washer. And it should be the person with the most keys, because they should be able to get into the closet and sweep the floor and mop it as well. Because
exactly.
That's what true leadership is serving others.
And I'm glad you brought that up. And we're going to go back to where you were going, but I'll give you another anecdotal. I had a nephew. One day he came up to me and said, "Uncle Eric, they want me to mop the floor." Okay. I won't say exactly how I said it, but go mop the floor.
Yeah.
How you expect to, we have this mindset of we want to be in charge, but how do you become in charge unless you go through the ropes of understanding the processes of what being in charge means?
Yeah, and not only mop that floor in a way that people are going to be like, wow,
exactly,
the best floor mopping I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's not about you going to become a professional floor mopper,
no,
but it's about showing your commitment and your dedication to excellence in whatever you do.
And you know, another thing, and I'd cut you off, but the other thing that I say about leadership and wanting to ascend that throng of leadership, one doesn't get here by working here. You know, we all want to be paid more because we feel that we're doing so much. But the reality of those who ascend to here is because they don't really get concerned about, well, I'm not getting paid to do this.
Exactly.
And I find that to be a big challenge with our younger folks. You know, you're not paying me to do that. Well, how do you expect for me to give you the responsibility of where you want to go if you're not showing me that you take on those traits of understanding and managing to be there?
Yeah, and I think that is an important thing that I think leaders are missing out in terms of The challenge is that some younger people, and they are leading much of the changes that we're having and we're seeing in the workplace with the emphasis on mental health and psychological safety and those things, and being paid fair value and worth. The other part of it is that we got to make sure that the things they do are seen as not just monetary units of work, but it's about what is necessary to make the team and organization work best.
Right.
So I grew up with the other duties as assigned was the place that I knew I could show out. I can do everybody can come to work and do the same thing.
Right.
But the other duties as assigned, I'm gonna show you. And in some ways, I'm gonna preview what you will see if you give me the opportunity that I feel like I'm earning by not only doing my work, but showing that I'm a full committed partner to the organization, trying to move it forward. And I'm doing the extra things to help. And it's not just for the extra help, it's because I want to do it.
Exactly.
I want to be excellent.
Exactly.
And I try to help people say you can do a good job, you can do a better job, or you can do the best job. And I ask the question, do your clients deserve good, better, or best?
Right.
And the answer is best.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I even liken that to our young folks who aspire to, let's say, youth sports. Like you said, you played ball, and you have those who have the mindset, oh, I'm going to go to the best college, or I'm going to go make it to the NFL or the NBA, but don't have an NBA or an NFL mindset.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is I only do what's asked of me.
Exactly. I have never heard someone who is an all-time great or like Mr. Heisinger in terms of what he was able to accomplish with the Fortune 500 companies or some other athlete or mogul say they got there by doing the bare minimum. They always talk about they want to do the best job and go the extra mile because that's what they feel they need to do to get the thing they want to get done. It's not about, am I being properly compensated? They seem to have a belief in themselves that if I do this stuff and do it at a rate that is so excellent, all the other things that come with that will come.
You know, and again, I have to use myself as an example. When I started with the Dolphins organization, I really sold myself short in terms of what because I really didn't understand the makeup of what the sports world was. But because of my work ethic, and actually I left the organization because I was recruited by American Airlines. And when I came back, I was given more responsibility than I was there before. I was fortunate to be able to come back. That's something in itself.
Exactly.
And then again, be given more responsibility. But again, that comes from a mindset of it's not about, what's happening now. It's where I'm going to be in the future.
Exactly. I mean, even an example, I like to cook. And when I make meals for my family, I'm not trying to make a mediocre meal. I'm trying to make the best meal they have ever had.
Right.
I want them to say, we don't want to go to no more restaurants because what you did in that kitchen or on that grill was something special.
Right.
And I think that sometimes people do sell themselves short because they're not willing to thrive for excellence. I mean, I started coaching Imperative with the idea I want to become the best coach in the world. That's the goal.
Right.
And I got to continually work on it, continually get feedback, continue to build my skill set. But I'm not starting out with the goal of I want to be okay.
Right.
Or I want to make a certain amount of money. No, I want to make sure I maximize my potential.
Right.
And I feel I can do that.
Well, this time is run. I mean, this is shot by, and that's why I say I truly get excited about our members coming in and watching and listening and learning from you. How can someone get in touch with you?
You can find me in coachingimperative.com. You can also email me directly at ISSAC, because that's how my mom spelled my name. So 2 S's, 1 A, Isaac at coachingimperative.com. And you can find me there as well. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram and Twitter. I'm also use those same handles, Isaac M. Carter. You will find me. It's actually the best SEO engine in the world because no one spells their name like me. At the middle initial M, last name Carter.
This has been the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank Dr. Carter reach out to us at m-dcc.org or call us at 305-751-8648. This has been a great conversation. I appreciate it.
I thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Today, I stand before you, a proud graduate of Miami-Dade College and the 5th president of the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce. I'm honored to return to the college that prepared me to become a leader in our community, providing an education second to none. So I'm asking you to please tune in every Monday at 12 noon to the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce's Member Connection, as I interview members of the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce on our Facebook page at Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce or our YouTube channel, Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce. To learn more about the Chamber, please go to m-dcc.org or call the Chamber at 305-751-8648.